Asterisk dust moved like ghosts across the open plains, swirling low and relentless. The wind was dry and hot, an invisible blade scraping the earth raw. Nothing lived out here unless it had a reason to stay. And he didn't, not anymore, asterisk Elias Cade, moved with the silence of a man long acquainted with loss. His boots crushed the brittle weeds beneath him, a dull clink coming from the iron tools in the satchel slung over his shoulder. His shirt clung to him with sweat and old blood, the sun peeling the skin on the back of his neck. Ahead, maybe a mile off, a wagon leaned sideways on a collapsed wheel. Its frame tilted like a dying animal. He paused. A woman stood near it, slender, still. Black shawl drawn across her shoulders despite the heat. Her bonnet shadowed her face. But her posture betrayed fatigue. Fear, maybe. One mule grazed lazily. The other twitched nervously, its ears on edge. She didn't wave, didn't shout, just stood there, waiting for something. Or someone asterisk Elias could have turned. The prairie wouldn't question him, but he didn't. By the time he reached her, his hands were already unfastening the leather bindings of the broken axle. He knelt by the shattered wheel without a word, eyes scanning the wood grain, checking. The brake. She didn't move at first, only after a long moment did she step back, giving him space like he was a storm she'd rather not get caught in. Asterisk, the silence between them wasn't cold. It was careful, asterisk, he worked like he breathed, measured, quiet, deliberate. His fingers, though rough, moved with precision. The bolts had cracked clean through. The wheel had come off a sharp rut, probably trying to avoid a gully. He opened his satchel. Tools clinked. Sweat rolled from his brow. The wood was brittle. The sun was sinking. Asterisk from the corner of his eye. He noticed her watching. Asterisk she sat on the edge of the wagon bed, feet tucked beneath her, one hand holding her shawl closed. Her fingers fidgeted around a silver ring still on her left hand. Her eyes gray rimmed with dust never left him. Not out of distrust, out of weight. Like she knew something was coming and wasn't sure if she should hope for it or fear it. He didn't ask her name. She didn't ask his asterisk. That was the language. Out here, silence heavy with meaning, asterisk behind them, the sky bled orange. Heat shimmered off the distant hills. Elias glanced west. A faint trail of dust flickered in the far horizon. Riders, maybe, maybe not. He lowered his head and tightened the wheel bolt. The metal bit into the wood with a stubborn groan, asterisk the mules snorted. She flinched. Still, she said nothing, asterisk a wind kicked up hot, dry, laced with that strange electricity that came before a storm. But there were no clouds above. Just vast, empty sky, asterisk. He pulled a splint of timber from under the wagon, reinforced it beneath the frame, then wiped his brow and stood. Asterisk. Thank you, she finally said. Her voice cracked, raw like it hadn't been used in days. He was meant to fix it, but he never came back. Asterisk Elias met her eyes. Something passed between them in that look. Not sympathy, not pity. Recognition. Asterisk she offered a canteen. He took it without a word, drank, nodded, then turned to walk away. Asterisk, they'll be here soon, she whispered behind him. He stopped. She didn't explain who. Asterisk just looked down at her hands. At the ring, asterisk Elias slowly turned his head, scanning. The horizon again, the trail of dust had thickened. Not far now, 3, maybe 4 riders, asterisk. Are you waiting for them? He asked, voice gravel soft, asterisk. She didn't answer, not directly. Her shoulders rose in a slight shrug. I don't know. Anymore. He didn't press. Instead, he looked at the wagon, now upright again. He walked back, ran his hand along the frame. Solid enough to move. He glanced at her still seated. Still unsure. Asterisk. You can ride, he said. If you want to go. Asterisk. She shook her head. This is my husband's wagon. Asterisk. Yours now. Asterisk. She looked away. The silence between them grew thick again, now not careful but heavy. Elias crouched beside the fire pit she'd laid out earlier. Deadwood lay beside it. UNLIT. Asterisk. You travel alone? He asked after a long pause. Asterisk. I have since last spring. Asterisk. He didn't ask more. Her words said enough. That meant she'd buried someone between the snows melting and the grass turning gold. A husband, likely, or someone like one. Maybe more than one grave. Maybe none, just bones left behind. The riders grew closer, hooves on dry earth, the mules brayed, restless. Elias stood and walked out a few paces into the dust. His hand hovered near the hammer looped on his belt. Not a gun, just a hammer. He waited, not tense, just aware. She didn't move. The riders came into view, 3 of them. Lean men with hard eyes, dusters long and torn. Guns hung low on their hips. One smiled when he saw the wagon. Another whistled. Well, well, the lead man said, drawing up. Clara. Her name. She stood now, one hand on the wagon's edge, the other at her side. Ethan. The way she said it made Elias' jaw tighten. Too flat. Too formal. Didn't think you'd make it this far. The man dismounted, swaggering. Didn't think you'd find help either. He glanced at Elias, smirked. Elias didn't smile. You're alone, Ethan added. Just a man in a wagon. Could be worse. Clara's face didn't move. The second man hopped down, walked around the wagon like inspecting it for sale. She didn't burn it, he said, grinning. Told you she'd be sentimental. Who are they? Elias asked softly. Clara didn't answer. The third man had a scar running from his ear to his collar. He didn't talk. Just watched Elias like a coyote sizing up a larger dog. Ethan stepped forward, brushing the dust from his jacket. You fixing wagons for charity, mister? No, Elias said. Just one, Ethan smiled with too many teeth. Then you're in the wrong place. The wind picked up again, swirling around them. The sun hung low and red behind their shoulders. Clara took a step closer to Elias. Her voice barely rose above the wind. They're not my brothers. Elias didn't blink. Ethan's smile faltered. The man with the scar moved his hand to his holster. In that moment the air was thick, not with dust or heat, but something deeper. A choice neither of them had made yet. Elias stepped forward slightly, putting himself between Clara and the men. You're gonna want to back off now, he said. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Or what? Elias didn't answer because he didn't need to. The silence carried everything. By sundown, one truth would break open, and no one would be ready for what came with it. The fire cracked low, sending sparks up into the indigo sky as night sank its teeth into the plains. The stars blinked faintly overhead, quiet sentinels over a world too tired for miracles. Elias sat on a flat stone near the embers. His sleeves rolled, his hand still wrapped in a length of torn cloth from Clara's shawl. The wound was shallow, from where a bolt had snapped during the axle repair, but it bled longer than it should have. He didn't complain, he didn't wince. He simply stared into the fire like it owed him answers. Behind him, the wagon creaked gently in the wind. Clara sat on the ground this time, legs pulled to her chest, rifle leaning beside her like an uncertain friend. She hadn't touched it. But she hadn't let it go either. The 3 men who called themselves her brothers were camped on the far side of the clearing. They'd tied their horses to low shrubs and left one man's scarred face, sleepless eyes pacing in slow circles. He hadn't sat down once. Elias noticed. He noticed everything. No one spoke much. No one needed to. The tension hummed between them like a wire stretched tight. Clara finally broke the silence. You ever seen a man lie with a straight smile? Elias glanced over his shoulder. She was staring into the fire, not at him. Her voice was soft, dull around the edges. Like the kind that tells you you're safe, while digging a grave behind your back. He didn't answer. But his jaw flexed. I saw it in Ethan's eyes today, she said. Same smile he used when he came back from the war. Same one he wore at my wedding. And again when my brothers didn't make it home. Elias turned. His face away. She looked up. Do you believe me? He didn't nod. He didn't shake his head. But he didn't look away either. Her hands reached into her satchel and pulled out a folded envelope. The edges were creased, soft with handling. She held it toward him. He hesitated, then took it. The paper smelled like ash and leather. A faint trace of lavender. He unfolded it slowly, aware of her eyes on him the entire time. It was a letter written in strong, slanted script. Dated weeks ago. Signed by a man named Jonah Wright. Husband. Deceased. The letter talked of a deal gone wrong. Land promised, but never given. Men double-crossed. One name stood out near the bottom, scrawled in different ink. E.C. Elias stared at the letters like they burned. I found it tucked in his boot after he died, Clara said. After I buried him, Elias looked up. How did he die? She met his gaze, steady now. They slit his throat in the dark. Took his boots, his gun, and left me nothing but a name I didn't recognize until today. His hands folded the letter with care and handed it back. He said nothing, but the firelight caught the brief tremble in his breath. Clara didn't press, didn't scold or cry. She simply took the paper and slipped it back into her satchel. You know them? She said quietly. Yes, They know you? Used. To, she swallowed hard. Her voice turned to sand. Were you with them? The fire hissed as a log split. Elias didn't look at her. He picked up a dry branch, cracked it across his knee, and fed it into the flame. You don't want to know, he said. She stood slowly, brushing dust from her skirt, her shoulders shaking, but not from fear. From memory. They called you Ghostsmith once, she said. My husband heard it. Said the man who made fire speak. Said he built iron that never missed. Elias exhaled sharply through his nose. That was a long time ago. But it's still you. He didn't deny it. The wind kicked up across the plains. Somewhere in the dark, a coyote called. The horses shifted nervously. The man with the scar finally sat only for a moment. He lit a cigarette and stared straight into the dark like something might crawl from it. Clara stepped closer to Elias. Why did you leave them? His voice was low, nearly lost in the crackle. Because I built the fire they used to burn your brothers. She didn't speak. Didn't move. I forged the lock that held the church door shut, he said, almost to himself. I was young. Thought it was just intimidation. They said no one would get hurt. Then they lit the walls and laughed while the screams faded. Clara's fingers pressed against her lips. I walked away that night, Elias said. Didn't run. Just walked. Never picked up iron again. Never built a thing worth keeping. Until I saw your wagon. Her knees buckled slightly as she lowered herself beside him. The rifle leaned against the wagon wheel. Her eyes never left the fire. They killed my kin, she whispered. You know that. I do. You helped them. I did. Her voice broke like a branch. Then why do I want to trust you now? Elias didn't answer. The fire danced between them, casting shadows long and jagged against the wagon. In the distance, the wind howled low and mournful. A storm might be forming in the hills. Dry lightning, sharp wind, no rain. She leaned forward, close enough to feel the warmth of him, but not to touch. You can run at first light, she said. I won't. Why not? He looked at her, then really looked, not with guilt, not with apology, with something heavier. Something alive. Because if I do, he said, you'll be alone when they come to take everything. She blinked once, hard. He nodded at the rifle. You know how to shoot? She shook her head. He reached slowly into the satchel and pulled out a box of cartridges, placing it gently on the ground between them. Then it's time you learn. She stared at the box. At the firelight reflecting off the brass. Her hands hovered above them, then drew back. She wasn't ready. Not yet. They sat in silence again, different now. Not the silence of strangers. The silence of shared burden. In the distance. A horse whinnied. The man with the scar stood again. Ethan was talking softly, leaning toward one of the others. The fire popped. The wind grew sharp. Elias stood, his legs stiff from sitting too long. He glanced at the sky. No moon tonight, he said. Clara stood too. Makes it easier to hide. He nodded. But harder to aim. The rifle stood between them like a question waiting to be answered. He handed it to her. Barrel down, gently, her hands closed around the stock, and for the first time since sundown, Elias Cade smiled, not out of joy, but out of respect. Not forgiveness, not peace, but readiness. The kind that comes before blood, before fire, before the truth steps out of the dark and demands to be known. The wind had changed. By morning it blew cold off the ridge, carrying with it the scent of sage, char, and something else, something Elias recognized before it even reached camp. Gun oil. He stood before the fire pit at dawn, his eyes watching. The orange thread of sun stitched its way across the horizon. The sky behind it was pale and empty. Clara stood by the wagon, the rifle resting in her arms like a weight she hadn't yet accepted. Her hair was loose. Her eyes were not, she'd slept little. Nor had he, the night had crept past with whispers, with movement from the other camp, with boots crunching earth too softly for horses. The men had spoken low, thinking shadows kept them hidden, but the prairie held no secrets. Not from those who listened, and Elias had listened all night. Now, as the sun spilled gold across the land, the three men emerged from the brush. Ethan led, boots polished, shirt tucked like he still believed himself above the dirt. The one with the scarf flanked him, chewing something bitter, eyes scanning like a hawk. The third was younger, restless, fingers twitching near his holster. Ethan stopped short of the wagon. His voice was honeyed with false concern. Morning, Clara. Sleep well? She didn't answer. Elias stepped forward, placing himself between them again. No weapons drawn, no challenge. Just presence. Ethan's grin wavered. We're leaving today, Elias said. You can ride north or not. Doesn't matter to us. Ethan gave a low chuckle. You think you can tell me what road to take, blacksmith? I'm not telling you anything, Elias replied. I'm offering you a choice. The man with the scar shifted. His hand rested on his pistol now. The younger one looked confused, as if the weight of the moment had settled faster than he expected. Ethan's face turned cold. You really think you're gonna walk away with her? With that wagon? That land grant inside it? Clara stepped forward then. Her voice didn't shake. That grant belongs to my husband's blood. Not yours, not the men who killed him. Scarface's eyes narrowed. You don't know what you're talking about, girl. I know enough, she said. I know my brothers died in a fire your kind lit. I know my husband was left to bleed in a ditch. I know your name isn't Ethan Cole, and I know you've been lying to me since the day you rode into my life. The younger man took a small step back. Ethan's smile cracked. You've been reading old letters. Clara, folks say a lot of things before they die. I saw the photograph, she said. The real brothers. The real Ethan? They're buried under pinewood crosses east of the Smokies. You're just a scavenger in his boots. The wind whistled. A hawk cried overhead. Elias didn't move. You can walk away, he said again, softer now. Leave your sins in the dust. Scarface drew first, but Elias was faster. The hammer from his belt crushed the man's hand before the pistol cleared leather. The crack of bone was loud in the morning stillness. The man went down, screaming. Ethan pulled his gun. Clara fired before he could. The shot wasn't clean. Her hand jerked. The bullet tore through his shoulder, spinning him backward into the dirt. The younger man didn't draw. He dropped his weapon and raised both hands, stumbling back, eyes wide with something like horror or shame. Elias moved fast, dragging Clara behind the wagon, motioning for her to stay down. Blood spilled in the dirt, thick and bright. The wind carried the iron scent sharp across the clearing. The one she'd shot groaned, clutching his shoulder. You don't understand. He gasped. You don't know what he did. Your husband, he took everything from us. He stole. Clara stepped around the wagon slowly, Rifle steady now, asterisk. My husband tried to protect what was his. You took what wasn't yours. Asterisk Elias approached the wounded man and knelt. His voice was ice. Asterisk. I know what I did, he said. I know I helped build your fire. But I didn't stay to watch it burn. Asterisk Ethan spat blood. You left your name in the ashes? We carried it, asterisk Elias stood. Then bury it or choke on it. The man passed out. The younger one still stood with hands raised. Asterisk. I didn't know, he whispered. They said it was clean, just land, a contract. Clara looked at him for a long, cold second. Then get off it, she said. And don't come back. Asterisk he didn't argue. He ran. Asterisk Elias watched the sun rise higher, watched Clara lower the rifle, watched the wind lift the ends of her shawl like wings. They spent the next hour burying the dead. Clara didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because she had. Nothing left to cry with. Asterisk the earth took the bodies without complaint. The shovel bit through hard clay and brittle roots. Elias worked with the same hands that once built weapons. Now they dug graves. Asterisk when it was done, Clara sat beside the wagon, staring out toward the empty trail. Her fingers toyed with the wedding ring on her hand. Asterisk Elias sat across from her, leg bleeding through a fresh wrap. He didn't wince. He didn't speak. Asterisk. Do you believe in forgiveness? She asked. Asterisk. I believe in trying, he said. Some days. Asterisk. What about peace? Asterisk. He looked down. I don't know what that word means anymore. Asterisk. She leaned her head back against the wagon. Her voice was barely a breath. Asterisk. I think I saw it. This morning. Just for a second. Elias didn't answer. They sat in silence until the sun was high. Asterisk by midday. They hitched the mules. Asterisk the wagon creaked forward slow, steady. She drove. He walked beside it, hand on the frame, limping slightly but not falling behind. Asterisk they didn't look back. The trail was long, wounded, beautiful, like them. Asterisk and somewhere far ahead. Over a ridge the sun hadn't yet touched waited a kind of freedom that didn't ask questions. Asterisk only offered shelter, a hawk soared above them. The land exhaled, and fire, once used to destroy, now warmed two souls brave enough to rise from the ash.